Well, I just told Dylan I feel disheveled. It's kind of like we were out on the property till 1:30 in the morning looking for my son-in-law's buck, and we went out this morning, made a wise decision to back out, found him in 10 minutes. He went like 40 yards from where we stopped, and so it got to that point where we'd given him 6 hours. By the time we left the woods, it had been 7.5 hours since the shot. We'd only gone 300 yards or so, and so it was time to back out, and it was a good call. Getting him out this morning. Wes was here to help too, so that was a good thing. But another thing, I have to admit it to you guys. I pride myself in Dylan. I mean, even like all the years you've known me, like having a mature buck come in, I don't spook him. Like I get a chance at him, and I pride myself in that. Like you get that experience, you know when to move, what you can get away with, get the shot off. That's really hard, and it took decades to get to that point where you feel really confident. Yesterday I was sitting with Jen. There's a buck on our property, 6-year-old junior. And I really want to see her shoot it. It's just kind of like Ocho last year. I love experiencing that. In fact, I'm going to go out and sit with her tonight if she lets me. And if she lets me, meaning yesterday, I sat with her in the morning. We have family in town, so people to watch the kids, and then I sat with her in the evening, and sure enough, here comes Junior. He's 30 yards away, and we'll bring it all to you in another video someday, but bottom line is I move my binoculars, looking at him, yep, it's Junior, put it back. I'd already reminded her 30-yard pin in this location, and I'm just trying to stay calm, 30-yard pin, take your time, and just putting the binoculars down, whatever it was, he looked at me. And I thought, we were in a blind. I was in the corner, the front corner though. I just thought that, I didn't think, let's put it that way. Because if I was thinking, experience-wise, I would have moved slower, done something different. But sure enough, he looked right at me. And when he looked at me, he just did what mature bucks do. He turned and he just exited. Didn't blow, didn't sprint, didn't run. And then that was probably a half hour before dark. And then for the last 20 minutes of daylight, we got to watch him about 80 to 100 yards away in the adjoining food plot. Don't put the water hole on the food plot, but he sat over there in the food plot till dark and just fed. And I snort wheezed at him twice to where he could hear me. The wind was coming from him to us, and it was a little breezy. He looked my way twice. I grunted. He couldn't hear my grunts. I did a couple loud ones. We thought he turned my way. But bottom line is he was over there probably with that doe that came through first. And I messed up her opportunity. So that was on top of, the deer last night. And all this to say, this is the rut. And it's not full-blown rut. But every day we see an uptake in activity. And overall, and what you see right now is something like this. This is really important to understand. Just because it's the rut, your hunting opportunity in the rut is not this. It doesn't go like that every single day. Instead, what it does is something like this. It's all of a sudden there's a little tick, then down. It goes back up, and then it goes down again. It goes back up. Overall, it's going up. But every day is not created equal. And I've, one of our partners is Reveal. I only use the best, and I believe they're the best. It's also personal too. We know the owners, just knowing them. Jen had their cameras before anybody in public had their cameras. So that's just going back a little ways. And I had their Tacticam before they even had the Reveal cameras. So, and got them from the owners. We know them, and I love the product, love their team. We've been out to their headquarters a couple times. That being said, we get a lot of cameras, and that's part of our partnership. And we enjoy them. We run them to death. In fact, some of them are older models that they wonder why we don't have newer models. And it's because they've been in the same spot for 3 years or 2.5 years and they haven't broke. So we just keep them there. It's kind of like, let's keep this ancient camera going. It's still working. Why would we move it? We have on our property over 50 cell cameras. When they're all running, we had, I think a week ago, we had 52, 53 right around there. I counted them up, and they're always maintaining them battery wise. We don't have any failures right now. We just need to replace batteries. For that, we get to see what the deer are doing on a daily basis. We get to see when they're here, and we get to see when they're here. And you'd have to be almost stubbornly against the weather making changes in the deer world to not see the patterns, because they are so blatant. They are, when we don't see deer, we've had a rainy night, for example, and we get 8 deer pictures. Out of 53 cell cams running for the whole night, you get 8. Dylan and I sit for an hour, hour and a half in the rain. And between both of us and over 80 cell cameras, and how many properties are your cameras on? 4 or 3?
Yeah, 4 main ones, and then I run a bunch on random public chunks too, so.
Yeah. And so Dylan has, he's a big area. So we could probably say, as far as location-wise, 6, 7, 8 locations in 2 states or more. And 80 some 90 cameras, whatever that total number is, and we don't see a deer move for an hour and a half or an hour, and you look at the weather conditions that are there, and yeah, this makes sense. Pretty easy to predict, and so that's why I've been predicting the weather for so long, because you see these movements in the field when you're hunting there all the time. Every weekend I used to hunt when I was late teens, 20s. That's the time I had. All my vacation time was used for hunting for the most part, or I'd take a half day at a time times 14, so I'd have a whole week that I could burn for vacation, and it was all half days. And you see this weather working, and you see the rut right now, and that's what you talk about. You just have to go hunt at some point. But the point is that there are good days and bad days. And for me, when I didn't have a lot of vacation time, it was really important that I maximize my vacation time and time off to pick and choose the best days. And this is going back to 1993, long time ago. I didn't think about it. I started hunting in 86, but for the first few years, the weather wasn't on my mind. But I remember specifically when it was, and I remember specific bucks that I used certain days to go in and shoot certain bucks back in the early 90s because of that weather, to the point where I had to listen to marine weather forecast out of the thumb area of Michigan on the way to my stand. And there were many times, because you couldn't look at it on your phone, there's no other source. So I'm literally ready to go hunting, halfway for a 40-minute drive to where I hunt, and halfway there the marine weather forecast comes on and the winds are wrong. So what do? I don't go force it. I literally turn around and go back home. And that's how disciplined I was back in the early 90s, let alone now. And that's why I love forecasting it. And so when I look at these weather opportunities right here, every week we'll bring it to you. But, and I don't know if we'll do this tomorrow, Tuesday, but,
yeah, whatever. Yeah.
Either tomorrow or Wednesday. We're giving you an extra video each week, but these are really important to me, how I hunt. And so I'm looking at it's kind of boring to hunt right now. And I look at some, when I say it's almost on, we got a chance of a 6-year-old last night. My son-in-law, Joe, shot an 8-point, a beautiful buck. His only buck he's ever shot with a bow. So his first buck. So really cool with a bow. And so we were all the family to be a part of that. Dylan took pictures today, and it was pretty awesome. We're seeing a lot of changes rut-wise in the woods, but it is not full-blown yet, almost. We're seeing subtle changes in the weather. And I'm looking at, around here, southeast Minnesota, the day is Wednesday. And what I'm seeing is Tuesday, that we're forecasting 48 with rain. Now they're saying 54 with rain. It doesn't really matter. Today's supposed to be 60, then 54, and then it's supposed to be around 50, low 50s on Wednesday. But this is after a period of long rain. And so 85% chance of rain. So when I see that rain in the forecast, and it's this time of year, you don't need a 17-degree temperature drop to put them on their feet, but you need those subtle changes. And if you're not observing those changes and hunting by them, you're really, really missing out. Moon, I really don't care. I don't care what the moon is on Wednesday, because I'm hunting based on weather. The moon might be that added 5%, but it doesn't really matter. I'm either hunting or not based on the weather. Who cares what the moon is? I don't pay attention to the moon or the barometric pressure. It doesn't really matter. So I look at our day as Wednesday. Howell, Michigan. Really good friend of mine, Mike Pratt, one of my closest friends. He lives in Howell, so picked Howell. But Howell, Michigan. And these are interesting. This is where I where I live now, Howell, Michigan, and then Bradford, Pennsylvania is very near and dear to my heart because I've been hunting there on public land in Pennsylvania out of Bradford area on the Allegheny National Forest since 1993. So you can imagine the memories throughout the years. Dylan, unfortunately, can't be with us
I know, I'm bummed.
this year,
I'm bummed.
but for much better reasons. Can you
Yep.
can you tell him those reasons or no?
Yep, got a youngster coming. Timing wasn't great, so I'm missing a bunch of deer season, but we are still very excited.
But when it comes to that little baby, what's timing?
Yes, absolutely. We are very excited. Any day
yeah.
now. I keep checking my phone. I'm in the tree checking my phone, making sure I don't have to get out and run home and go to the hospital. But right now, we are just waiting.
So basically, you're telling me to quit rambling.
No,
That's
all good, man.
yeah.
You ramble on.
No, you're going
What's
hunting.
up?
You're going
What's up?
hunting after this. So
Yeah.
that's the reason we got to get going. Got to get in the tree. We both do.
The sits are precious this time of year now.
Howell, Michigan, same conditions on Thursday. Usually it's a day behind, but it's a couple days behind, meaning the conditions of bad weather on Thursday. 85% chance of rain, wind, gusty. Look up, it says gusty, windy, rainy all day. That means Friday is going to be hot. I think Friday's the 31st of October. And yeah, the time is great, but you'll see a big difference between the 30th and the 31st. Now, I'm not saying when it's full-blown rut, they're not moving around in the rain. It's just less. They when it's raining, it takes away their sight, their sound, and their scent in different ways. And so it's just harder for them. Bradford, Pennsylvania, the day is Friday. Thursday's that big, weathery, messed up day. So I'm looking at like Wednesday for us, Friday for Bradford, for Howell, Michigan, and you guys can pick it out in between. Look for those rainy days, those windy days, and then a calm, maybe a little bit of a temperature drop. And so when you have a little bit of a temperature drop overall, you have calm. We're even getting in the 30s now in the mornings quite a bit. And then you look at this weekend, and then we're talking in the 40s and 30s, and it's really game on when it gets into early November here. It's going to blow up. So we're just days away from that. This is a day, though, I like seeing when there's bad weather that slows down movement because when it breaks, it's on. And so you want to be ready when it's on. Again, going back to when I was in my early 20s and I only had a week to divide for hunting and I could take a half day off, that meant something, meaning I would look at that and say, I need to hunt this half day. And that's how I wanted to wisely use my time. I didn't have a lot of money to travel an hour and 45 minutes to the Thumb area of Michigan from lower Michigan and just waste time. So money was a concern. Time was a concern. I didn't have either on my side. The only thing I could put on my side was the weather, and that's why it's so important. At the same time, you get into this weekend. You get into early next week. I'm looking for these days because those are the days I'm going to hunt my best stands. Those are the days I'm going to go all in. The other days, I'm hunting stands where I can get in and out, and I don't think I'm going to spook deer. Maybe it might even be a good stand, but this is an area where I'm not putting a lot of pressure to get in. Maybe it's a long cruising area between bedding areas and food sources, meaning I'm not getting in your bedding, I'm not getting in your food, and so I'm just watching a transition for cruising. I'm getting into that spot. And I can think of some really good public land spots where I've hunted where there were just funnels in between giant clear cuts, and it went through a ridge system, and if the bucks came through, they'd come through the saddle. And so you're just waiting for that buck to come through that spot. You can hunt it every day because you're not burning out a food source or a bedding area. You're just hunting that transition area in between. So I'm still hunting. You're looking for hunt opportunities, but you have to be smart about your sit management. So what I'm trying to do is I'm hunting my best stands here, and I'm still hunting. I might hunt this area right here, this area right here. I'm going to hunt those locations, and when there's bad weather days, if I have my time off, you have your rut vacation, then I'm still getting out there to hunt. Should have thrown maybe a few more cities in here, but bottom line is Wednesday for us, Friday. If it's not looking the same in your area, check out the weather for these locations. We just use AccuWeather, and we pull it up, and to verify, I might use Weather Underground is another one. Apple Weather seems to be more national weather, which is different than AccuWeather. AccuWeather, their algorithms seem to be more sensitive, meaning they're all over the place. Sometimes it's more of a wild card. The National Weather Service seems to be more even-keeled, like a rain forecast for a Thursday might be 42% instead of 85%. And so Just differences, we'll look at that. Winds are usually the same between them. But the bottom line is we're almost there. We're seeing it on our own farm here in southeast Minnesota. We're watching our cameras every day. There's so much you can learn from those cameras. That's why I like having the cameras. I feel that you learn about buck behavior. And people say, people are lacking woodsmanship skills because of cell cameras. You can't, because you're learning about mature buck behavior. And it's not only that, you're learning about when I go hunt this area and there's no bucks for a week, what does it tell you about how you hunted that area? If you're being critical of yourself and if you're open to learning, you'll realize I put too much pressure in that area. What happens if your neighbors are in town? Weekend hunters, they hunt this area, all of a sudden the cameras die. You see that the rut's on or it's not. Last year I didn't release the findings, but I made a chart of every time we see a big buck, we get an HD video or HD picture. So when I go through all those HD pictures or videos, we can look at a number by day from, say, mid-October to mid-November. We can look at the total number of pictures each day and compare that to weather trends. And there's a huge weather trend. You can watch it when the weather drops, when the winds subside, when the extreme weather goes away, bucks are on. And that is this time frame, Wednesday for us, Friday. And so if Dylan gets a good doctor report on Wednesday, then we'll be able to hunt Thursday or Friday, right?
That's right. That's right. It's like I'm kind of, due date's the 8th, but any day we get closer to that, it's like getting scarier and scarier to leave home and, whatever. But I'm thinking, like, we talked to the doctor last week, and he basically said, I'll be surprised if I see you in the next week. So fingers crossed that the due date holds true, and he says the same thing this week, because that just gives us more time to get in the tree and enjoy the woods a little bit more before I'm a dad. So
yeah, but at the same time, priorities, being a dad.
Yep.
I'm
excited either way. Yep.
We can't wait. Dylan is like, I said it before, like to Jackson, he's like one of the closest uncles. And Jackson, like, he was crying today. Mm-hmm. He wanted his Dylan to hold him.
Yep, that's right.
His Uncle D. So, we watch Dylan be a father figure to our kids and have that interaction. So he came out of the house when we rolled up with the buck today. Dylan was already at the house, and he's holding Lily, my daughter, who, I didn't even tell you this, Lily wouldn't let Autumn hold her more than 2 times in the first 5 days.
Oh my gosh.
So her sister, special. Autumn, my daughter, Autumn, Lily wouldn't let that. So that's like an honor.
That is an honor, absolutely. Well, when you say big bucks, let's go, the kids just want to go see.
Yeah.
That helps.
But anyways, make sure you look for these subtle changes. And, I'll mention really quick, even look at morning lows. So you might have, it's 39, 41, 37, 42, 40, and all of a sudden there's a morning low of 31. The deer are going to recognize those changes that happened. To me, they're more active when the weather's cleaned out and the air is more crisp in the morning. They exercise a lot of movement in the morning. There's something about frost too. But bottom line is, look for those subtle changes. Make sure you hit these days and you'll be on target for some mature bucks or good buck hunting or just good deer hunting in general this week. Yeah, I really appreciate you watching all the way to the end. Your followers really appreciate and taking the time. I wanted to mention we have our last minute food plots you can check out at Pure Wildlife Blends. We have a lot of different seed varieties, especially our fall power greens. We have ways to establish clover this time of year, rye, a lot of different goodies. We also have our client visits. We've already started scheduling for this year, December through next August. So there's 5 of us going to client properties. Make sure you check that out. And then finally, our books and web classes. They're great Christmas presents this time of year is when they really start to sell. So really appreciate you watching. Just check out Whitetail Habitat Solutions or for this food plot seed company, purewildlifeblends.com. Thank you.